Welcome and good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for our candidate forum. Tonight we are doing District 4 Board of Supervisors. We welcome Mr. Wade Guinn and Mr. Karl Roulston. My name is David Hutton. I am the chairman of the Shenandoah County Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be your moderator tonight. We thank those that made tonight possible. They include the Farm Bureau of Shenandoah County, the Shenandoah County Education Association, the Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley, and the Shenandoah County Chamber of Commerce. This forum is intended to be a civil, nonpartisan discussion of the issues. We will be respectful to all candidates. I will be asking all of the questions tonight. All questions asked this evening were submitted online by the voters. We have reviewed the questions only to ensure that they meet the criteria. We have received lots of questions for this evening's forum, and we will do our best to get through as many as possible. The schedule for this evening, each candidate will have a 2-minute introduction. After that, we will have our question and answer session. I will ask the question, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We have timers to make sure we stay on schedule. The timer will hold up a yellow card when there's 30 seconds remaining and a red card when there's 5 seconds remaining. Each candidate who starts will have the opportunity to do a 30-second rebuttal. Then to close, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We flipped a coin to determine who would go first, and we will start. Mr. Karl Roulston.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here, or us here rather. My name's Karl Ralson. I'm currently the sitting supervisor for District 4. Running again because I feel that there were some things that we weren't able to accomplish that I had set out to do. Our last 2 budget cycles sort of got hijacked by COVID, so I think there's more work to be done from a financial aspect for Shenandoah County, along with the other county business.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn.
Hi, I'm Wade Guinn. Thank you for having me. My family moved here in 1974. In 1975, I graduated, went in the service. Less than a year after that, I retired from the Air Service in 96 and ended up working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and finally got an opportunity to relocate back to home in 07 and worked out of DC for central office of the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I'm definitely interested in county supervisor. Excuse me, I'm a little tongue-tied there. Had a stroke 2 weeks ago. Months, see? I'm sorry, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Ralston, you have the opportunity to answer the first question. It speaks to qualifications and experience. How will you improve Shenandoah County as an elected supervisor? What makes you the best candidate?
I don't like the term best candidate, but I believe I'm a strong candidate. In business, you end up not doing what you really think you set out to do and end up being more of an arbitrator, somebody who tries to build consensus, somebody who tries to gain trust and work with others. I think my qualifications as a business owner provide those experiences. I also have the 4 years of working on the board, so I understand sort of the budget aspects of how things are done, how they're developed, and where I think the focus needs to be for Shenandoah County. Shenandoah County has some problems, but it has some good things too. And it's kind of balancing to make sure people stay focused on both of those all the time to try and move the county forward. But I think that, again, the business aspect of being able to work with people and gain consensus is the most important part of this job.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, how will you improve Shenandoah County as an elected supervisor? What makes you the best candidate?
I would just say a strong candidate. I agree with Mr. Ralson as far as best, but I firmly believe that Shenandoah County is doing well. There are some areas that might need to be improvement, and to be part of the team within the county to represent not just Woodstock, but all of Shenandoah County, and to overcome any obstacles that come.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ralston, any additional?
Nope.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Guinn, our second question tonight asks, what are your top 3 priorities as a Board of Supervisors member for Shenandoah County?
I'll have to go with agricultural, economic development, and school board, working with the school board to continue with their mission.
Thank you. Mr. Ralston?
I think that one of the, I would put our finances as one of the top three. I think Shenandoah County has become reactive from a tax perspective, where there hasn't been a lot of focus or long-range planning for what the budget needs to be. That's an area that we need to focus on. What do we think we need to run the county, and establish that budget, and then make sure that we have the revenues to cover that budget. The past few years we haven't been doing that. We've been spending unassigned fund balance to cover operations, and that's not a good policy and won't last long. So we need to get a path to go and make that correction so that we actually are funding what we think we need for Shenandoah County. Number two, I think, is education. I think we need to stress more on the teachers, retaining those, recruiting them. They're the ones that are doing the job day to day, and when we lose 40% of our teachers every year, that's a turnover that's just ridiculous. So we need to do a better job of keeping them. We need to do a better job of recruiting them and keeping them in Shenandoah County. Working with the school board is certainly an important aspect as well. It's been a rough year in Shenandoah County. I think that it has propagated a lot of distrust, and we need to bridge that gap and work together pretty closely to try and move forward from that and regain that trust. Those really are the other one is the economic development. We've had some progress in economic development, but there's always room for improvement. We've brought some new businesses in, and we are going to continue doing that, but we're also going to try and build up our existing businesses as well, which we've been reaching out to try and accomplish those as well.
Thank you. The next question.
He gets a rebuttal if he wants.
If you would like that. Absolutely. The next one, Mr. Ralston will have the first opportunity to answer the question, and the question is, what do you think are the most pressing needs of low-income constituents, and how would you address those needs?
Well, low income covers, there's different groups of low income. Some of them are elderly senior type folks, and then the others are people that are starting to try and develop and find a career. So addressing the younger looking for careers aspect, I think one thing we could do is try and bring more jobs to Shenandoah County. More jobs means more pay. It means more revenue generated in Shenandoah County, and getting people to move to Shenandoah County to have their careers and raise their families. So that's where the economic development plays into being able to bring jobs in so that we can get people to work here in the county instead of driving 30 miles to go to jobs elsewhere. The senior level, their focus, we need to make sure that our tax base doesn't run wild, because most of them, they may start low income, but if taxes keep rising and rising, if they're on a fixed income, that hurts them tremendously. So we need to keep an eye on our tax rate to make sure that it is not excessive and is only covering what we want it to cover in Shenandoah County. The other thing we can do little things as well. The Shengo program, we're really excited to see how well that takes hold, but providing a bus service, even for $1, you can ride up and down the county. Who wouldn't want to do that? But making that available to everyone is going to let them have mobility, get them where they need to go. That will help in their job search and their employment, getting there to the job as well. And those things, which are sort of a quality of life aspect, we need to continue doing those and developing them.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, the same question for you.
Yes, sir.
Most pressing needs of low-income constituents, and how would you address those needs?
Well, definitely the job market needs to improve, because since I've moved here, I've noticed a lot of the industry did close and leave the county, and a lot of people do have to leave the county to find jobs, and lack of transportation for that even makes it more compound. And the start of the new bus line is definitely a first step. It's long overdue. bringing development back into the county should be a priority.
Mr. Ralson, anything additional to add?
Here, here.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, the next question asks, what do you consider to be the strengths and weaknesses of the Shenandoah County Comprehensive Plan?
Got me there. I'll have to keep going. I haven't seen it, so I'm going to be very limited on what I can respond to, and I'm not going to do it cold without anything or wing it.
Mr. Roulston, what do you consider to be the strengths and weaknesses of the Shenandoah County Comprehensive Plan?
So the strength is obviously the way that we have handled the comprehensive plan is it actually belongs to the Planning Commission, but we have established a Citizens Advisory Committee to actually work on the comprehensive plan and the various chapters through that. We're mandated by the state to have that plan, but that's how we're handling it in Shenandoah County. So we have citizens that we appoint to that advisory committee to represent for the county and say, what do we want the county to do? That's the strength. The strength is that we're asking the community to engage and tell us, what do you want Shenandoah County to be? The weakness is only recently been, I've discovered this only recently, and that is that we have these chapters in the comprehensive plan. But one of the things that came out in these meetings that we've been having is one of the things that people love the most about Shenandoah County is the feeling of community. And there isn't a chapter that relates to community. There's a chapter that works economic development, all of those various chapters, but the spirit of community is sort of like an octopus where all of the tentacles go into the different chapters, but there's not one chapter that wraps them all up. So you kind of have to take it from the other side, is what would we do in these chapters that would damage that sense of community and not do that? So to me, that was an eye-opening weakness that is very kind of a struggle to try and incorporate into the comprehensive plan to address those. But I do think that the greatest strength is that Citizens Advisory Committee. That's the ones that are contributing to what we want our county to be.
Thank you. Mr. Ralson, you have the opportunity to answer the next question. Number of questions regarding economic development. This question asks, many folks seem to think that more economic development in our county would broaden our tax base and create more revenue streams. Do you agree or disagree? What do you think is holding back economic development in our county?
Let's see. The first one was
that the economic development would broaden our tax base and
Yeah.
create more revenue streams. Do you agree or disagree?
So I agree. Economic development would actually broaden our tax base considerably, and if we bring jobs to Shenandoah County, that puts more people to work, and those people coming to work would need homes to live in. The good and bad part about business taxation is the cost of services for businesses are very small. A business doesn't need directly a school system. A business doesn't directly need a lot of the services that we are providing in Shenandoah County to our residents, whereas the homeowner is using all of those things. So the cost of services for businesses is very small, whereas the cost of services for homes is we spend more than we take in on those tax dollars that we bring in. So yes, bringing businesses in would help broaden our tax base, but we need to be careful not to overtax the businesses because then they won't want to come here. So there is a balance there. So I do think it's a good thing. The second part was...
What do you think is holding back economic development in our county?
So economic development is largely driven by it's a quality of life. If I'm going to move a business to someplace, I'm going to explore all of the aspects that my employees or coworkers are going to need to move them to that county. So we need to embrace that and know that we need to do the best we can with our education system, the best we can with fire and rescue, the best we can with parks and recreation. All of that contributes into that. And when we make that as attractive as Shenandoah County is beautiful, then businesses will want to come here and be part of this.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, I'll restate the question. Many folks seem to think that more economic development in our county would broaden our tax base and create more revenue streams. Do you agree or disagree? And what do you think is holding us back?
Okay, I agree with it, without a doubt. Businesses provide jobs. Businesses can be taxed. And it would definitely increase the tax base, the tax rate. Also, hopefully removing the burden off of the property owners.
Thank you. Anything? I didn't mean
No,
to
sir.
cut you
No,
off.
that's fine. Thank you.
Any reply?
No, sir.
All right, very good. We have questions regarding our schools, and Mr. Guinn, you'll have the first opportunity. The question is, how do you plan to work with the school board, and what do you think are the top priorities for our schools, or what do you think they should be?
Well, I think the Board of Supervisors should work closely with the school board, and not just also including the parents. And the Board of Supervisors, of course, provides the schools with the funds they need to operate school. But everybody has to do it as a partnership, and it's not just one entity over the other. And what was the other part? I'm sorry.
And then the second part was, what do you think their top priorities should be?
The top priorities with the schools themselves.
For the schools themselves.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, definitely educating the children. I mean, we're paying them. We as taxpayers and this county Board of Supervisors provide them funds, and we would like to think that we're giving them the best possible education available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roulston, how do you plan to work with the school board, and what do you think their top priorities should be?
I think that we should have more meetings throughout the year, joint meetings with the Board of Supervisors and the school board. We have them occasionally, but we don't have them enough. And I think it's very important this year specifically to do more of that because of the I'll just say drama that has unfolded this past year in Shenandoah County. There is a lack of trust, and I think working closely with would improve that and have a dialogue between, so that we are clear to the school board what the Board of Supervisors' expectations are, and they can be clear to us what they're capable of doing with what we provide to them. I think that one of the biggest problems with Shenandoah County schools is the retention of their teachers. We can sometimes lure young teachers in, but we do not keep them for long because other places pay them better. That's a tragedy when you lose a quality teacher that's connecting with the children of Shenandoah County, because they're going to go elsewhere, and we need to retain them or be able to retain them, especially the ones that are the good ones that are connecting with our children. So I think that we need to put some more focus onto how we can recruit and retain those education professionals. And I don't think it's just dollars necessarily. It's attitude reflects leadership. So it comes from the top down, from the school board to the principals, to the teachers, to all the staff in the education system. And they have to understand that what we want, one of the most important jobs of Shenandoah County is to educate our children. And we need to do that job well.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, anything to add?
No, well done.
Mr. Ralston, this next question asks, how do you assess our fire and rescue services in regards to timeliness, recruitment, and training?
That's a good question. So we've actually made great strides towards all of those efforts. So the way Shenandoah County Fire and Rescue works is it's a collaborative, cooperative career and volunteer organization. And what we were having troubles with the organizational structure between the two, the career and the volunteer. So one thing that we did was set up the oversight board or committee, and that's the chief of the county and all of the chiefs and captains in the various fire stations that meet regularly to talk about what's good, what's bad, what could be better, and how we avoid getting worse. And that, I think, has made it's been a great help into getting everybody to work well together and understand what needs to happen. Along with that, we have tried to sponsor positions for the career retention and recruitment officers, so that these people will be responsible or help with all of the recruiting for the entire county for fire rescue, as well as the volunteer. And through that, we can help, again, identify what we need to attract more folks in and what we need to do to retain those in. So as far as adding to the response times, it became quite a challenge. In this past year, we had to add 14 more positions to be able to cover all of the areas, because it was just that difficult to get some of the stations staffed enough to be rapid response or quick response. We've added additional ambulance, as they say here in the valley, so that we can cover more area and have an extra ambulance to fill in when somebody has to go on a call elsewhere.
Thank you. Mr. Guinn, how would you assess our fire and rescue services regarding timeliness, recruitment, and training?
I believe their services are doing the best they can do with what they have. One of the problems is there's two types of employees, paid and volunteers. Back in the 70s, almost everybody volunteered with a rescue squad or a fire company. These days, they're just not there. When you look at the average age of them too, it's a little alarming. And I know that many people disapprove of paid people to do this, but it's probably going to come to that unless the volunteers step up. There's only so many people in the day that can do this. Some jobs are even reluctant to let their volunteers leave during the day if a call comes, because, well, no, I need you here, not out there on the road. Our biggest drain is 81. We all know what the accident rate is on 81, and once something gets shut down on 81, the only other road that goes north to south is 11. So any backup is going to greatly inhibit response time. And I know that Glenn Youngkin, running for governor, he had met here with the GOP party, and people from agriculture were voicing their concerns that the roads need to be improved because of the size of the trucks. And 81 really should be widened, and we're talking something that's going to take years to do that, and it's costly. And I'll just go over that before I go over my time.
Mr. Ralston, anything to add?
I do, and I think Mr. Guinn would agree with this, but that's another area where economic development could actually help. A big problem with the volunteers is they're working out of the county. So when the fire bell goes off, nobody's there to hear it. If we have more jobs in the county, there'll be more resources available in the county that could support the volunteers. So that's another area that would actually contribute to helping with the volunteer resources.
Gentlemen, this is our last question for tonight, and Mr. Guinn, you have the first opportunity. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing Shenandoah County today?
Biggest challenge in Shenandoah County is definitely economic growth. With the recent surge in real estate prices, I mean, houses aren't there for very long, but a battle axe to that is the price of rentals are jumping up. It's just as high as mortgages. I mean, it's outrageous. It is. I mean, I understand people need to make a living, but people are having to leave the county because they can't afford to live here. So it's definitely, we do need to work on the economic development.
Thank you. Mr. Ralston, the biggest challenges that you believe are facing Shenandoah County?
I think it's very similar to one of the first questions we had and what we would put as our priorities, and it's the same thing. It's economic development, absolutely. It's our finances. We need to get that house in order. And we need to do, I think we need to do a much better job with the investing in our education system. All of those contribute to each other. They feed off of each other, right? Again, if I was a business looking to relocate someplace, I'm not going to move my family or my coworkers' families into an area that has a questionable school system or questionable safety, fire, rescue. I'm not going to do those things. So I also will say that we're on a cusp of, I think, some exciting times in Shenandoah County. I think one thing that COVID has shown us is that you don't have to sit in front of your supervisor 8 hours a day and do work, that you are able to accomplish a lot of tasks remotely. When I started Regulus, I lived here in Woodstock. My customer was in DC. But I made that work. I made it work because we could do remote logins. We could do a lot of the efforts through the computers. I was expecting it to happen sooner, but now I think COVID has illustrated that it can be done. And I think that's what's driven that housing market through the roof is now people are moving out to a lovely, Shenandoah County is beautiful. Why wouldn't anybody want to live here? And the only holdup before was, well, I got to go into DC and I don't want to spend 2 hours driving in there. Well, you don't necessarily have to. So those are the things that I think we all need to focus on, regardless of who ends up in the seat after New Year.
Thank you. To close our candidate forum, each candidate has the opportunity to do a 2-minute closing statement. We'll start with Mr. Guinn.
Okay, thank you. It would be an honor to serve the county in any way possible, but right now I'm running for the Board of Supervisors. There's not a better place to live. Working with all the other agencies within the county to further the progress of Shenandoah County is paramount.
Thank you. Mr. Ralston.
I would say in closing, Shenandoah County is a beautiful place to live with a lot of wonderful people that live here. We are a community, and I think especially through election processes, we lose sight of that community aspect. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Guinn. I know he could do a good job as a supervisor. At the end of the day, either he's going to be the supervisor and I'm going to be his constituent, or I'm going to be the supervisor and he's going to be my constituent. And I have a lot of respect for the way Mr. Guinn has handled his campaign, and he's always focused on that community aspect. And I think that's a very important thing, because regardless of the differences between parties, it doesn't matter in the county. The county is about making the schools good. The county is about fixing the roads. There's not a Republican way to fix a road or a Democrat way to fix a road. The road just needs to get fixed. And I think that that's the most important thing that we can all take away, is that we are a community together. And whatever's said through election processes, at the end of the day, we're still that community together. And I think that's what makes Shenandoah County a great place to live, and we need to always keep that in mind.
Thank you. I'd like to close tonight by again thanking those that made tonight possible: the Farm Bureau of Shenandoah County, the Shenandoah County Education Association, Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley, and the Shenandoah County Chamber of Commerce. Special thanks to everyone who helped out this evening. Thank you to the candidates for participating. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. And thank you to Hank Zimmerman with Shenandoah Valley Productions for the video support. I would remind everyone to either vote early or remember, Election Day is on November the 2nd. Thank you very much.